tonight will be by Pastor Parrish Lowry from the Greater Friendship Missionary Baptist. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us bow. God of grace, God of mercy, we first and foremost tell you thank you. Thank you for another day's journey, a day that was not promised to us by our own means and ways, but a day that you gave us. And for that, we are extremely grateful. We pray now that you will anoint the minds of this leadership, from our mayor to our council, all the way to our community. Allow us to operate in unity so we could be that city that sits up on a hill and brings light to a dark world. We ask, dear Father, that you will guide us and direct us in all of our decisions and also with our discussions. We give you all the praise and glory. It is in the marvelous, the majestic, the magical name of your darling Son, Jesus the Christ. And we all said together, amen. Bless.
Next is the consideration of approval of the minutes from the February 1st, 2022 work session, the February 1st, 2022 public comment meeting, February 8th, 2022 council meeting, and the February 8th, 2022 special called meeting.
Please vote. It won't let me hit start vote, so you may have to try that. There we go. Motion passes.
Next is a special presentation by Council Member Chris Nettles for Black History Month.
Thank you. I will read a poem about Rosa Parks tonight. And thank you again to the mayor and city council and staff for adhering to the Black History month of February. And it reads, on a bus in the city of Montgomery, a woman came aboard. Little did anyone know at the time that this woman would change the world. When the color of your skin made a difference in society and determined how you were treated, there was a woman who wanted to change that all. And at the front of the bus, she's seated. When she was asked to move to the back like the rest, she simply shook her head and did not budge. Even though he was a white man, she was going to be judged. And even as the cuffs on her hands and set her way to jail, in her mind, she was not finished. She knew she did not fail. Her actions started a very important movement in the history of African Americans. It sparked a resolution for equality. And so the civil rights movement began. That was a poem by an anonymous person about Rosa Parks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Nettles.
Next are the public comments, Mayor.
Thank you. And our first speaker this evening is Katie Crum. I think it's a caller. Okay, we'll just move down. Bob Willoughby is our next speaker.
I'd like to say that this video has been unjustifiably edited and would like to invite anybody that will or would come on the local voter education program and deny these allegations. Go ahead and play it.
I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy, a Yankee Doodle do or die. A real live nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. Good boy, kid, I've got a Yankee Doodle sweetheart. She's my Yankee Doodle joy. Yankee Doodle came to London just to ride the ponies. I am the Yankee Doodle boy.
No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
That is hilarious. You want that. That is hilarious. Thank you. Oh, you're playing it all. Okay, there you go. Got to cut that last part.
Our next speaker is Barbara Brewer. Is Barbara here? No? Thomas Torlankasi is next.
Mayor Parker, council members, I wanted to point out that since you insist on putting the cart before the horse and want to cut your work hours and triple your pay, it's time for a little bit of tough love. Remember, I pointed out before that when people come here, they either come to ask for help or to offer you help. Tonight, I'm offering you help. To illustrate that, I'm going to tell a little story. One day, 4 women were sitting in the bar at Riata Restaurant. Their names were Sasha, Sandy, Leah, and Shanna. Soon after, 3 men walked into the bar. A child pornographer, a killer of innocent women, and a drunk. The bartender looks at the 3 men and says, "What can I get for you, officers?" Here's what you must do in your job. Your deliberative body. The only responsibility that you have, you must show up on Tuesday nights, deliberate, study the issues, and vote. That's the only thing that you must do. But here's some other imperatives. Work immediately on police reform and a paid body to be the oversight committee isn't going to cut it. Establish a Brady list. Now, we don't have enough time tonight to talk about what a Brady list is, but other states and other large cities know exactly what a Brady list is when it comes to officers that misbehave. What should you do? You should attend the work sessions, but you really don't have to if you've got a conflict. You should provide constituent services. You should stop fearing the public and engage them more. What you could do is delegate the CCPD responsibilities and not appoint yourselves to that committee, saving yourselves a lot of time and relying on other smart, capable citizens. Be less involved in redistricting, because most of you won't be here in 10 years. You can shorten your work sessions by stopping propaganda shows. The mayor and the council are in control of the work session and need to turn to the city manager and tell him that the dog and pony show and the pre-prepared messaging, which amounts to PR campaigns, is not nearly as useful as giving you the opportunity to ask detailed, incisive questions that sometimes are gotcha questions of the staff. The last thing, and the most important thing, is you must get the Fort Worth Police Officer Association under control. You're all afraid of it. It all impacts your elections. You're afraid to say the truth and treat them like a union, which is what they're supposed to be.
Our next speaker is George Charles.
My name is George Vernon Childs. My residence address is number 742901 Travis Avenue, Fort Worth. Why did I just sit there during the standing ovation last week? Well, just sitting there was a form of expression often used by those who were the right arm of the person I think can justly be called the American Mohandas Gandhi. They just sat there at lunch counters and decided that money earned by picking cotton or carrying brimming over metal garbage cans to trucks had exactly the same value at that lunch counter as that derived from lifestyles thought worthy to be subject to Saturday Evening Post magazine covers. Last week, resounding through this room was, quote, "But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly, somewhere I read of the freedom of speech, somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest for right," unquote. And I thought of the butchery done to those concepts in this building since the latest, but certainly not the last election. Is butchery too melodramatic? Then what word would better serve when a long-standing means of expression is summarily cut in two like a cantaloupe, and one half is cast away as casually as offal would be? So I resolved to just sit there. And then a speaker announced that since he had some time left, he was going to proclaim his fervent support for an increase in compensation. And there was not one word of scolding about staying on topic, no brisk order to leave the podium. There was only a smile, a smile. And in my mind, the image of justice is supposedly in this room to preserve equal treatment. Took off the blindfold that is the very symbol of that duty to show a mocking wink, a wink for all to see. Last week, a council member employed the word slander. Am I now providing the elements of that tort by stating that the video record will clearly show that changes in topic are cordially welcomed as long as they are about the person who presides over public comment getting more money? The contrast between Dr. King's words and what City Council does speaks for itself. But should that still elude someone, it was then made clear that while all topics are equal, some topics more equal than others, all in all, a quite enlightening evening for the Fort Worth voters who share Dr. King's veneration of the First Amendment.
Our next speaker is Dina Ashton. I think it's a caller. Make sure we've got her on the phone. Okay, she's here. Oh, good. Come on down.
I wish I knew I could have made a video. Good evening. My name is Dina Ashton. My address is 5725 Geddes Avenue. Again, my name is Dina Ashton. I was born and raised in Lake Como, and I reside there now. Whereas a single parent, I raised two children that graduated from Arlington Heights High School. Our community is a very unique and diverse community with a lot of awesome leaders and residents who have a great vision for our community. But we need your help. We need to be a part of a minority opportunity district where we can better meet our needs, the needs of our community, and where our votes matter. We have always had a great respect for our former and current district representatives. Michael Crane is doing a great job and is always available to help out in many ways, and we definitely appreciate you. However, we're needing to be a part of District 6 that will allow us to be all that we can be for our Como community. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your time. Our next speaker is Wendell Campbell.
Thank you. Mayor Parker and our wonderful City Council, City Manager Cook. I'm Wendell Campbell, a native Comoite, and I serve as pastor of the West Mount Moriah Baptist Church. Mayor Parker, I want to thank you for allowing me to walk with you during our Como July 4th parade. Thank you, Councilman Crane, for being a good friend of our community. And I have encouraged all of my membership and others to vote in support of giving you all a much-deserved salary increase. I stand before you as a lifelong member of Como. Como is a very proud and warm and politically astute community. It has been stated that Como is a community of interest, but I would like to suggest it is also an interesting community. In our history, we have had 3 functioning service stations, 2 large grocery stores, several mom and pop grocery stores, a movie theater, a swimming pool, a school that covers grades 1 through 12, major denominational churches, several daycare centers, barbershops and beauty salons, numerous cafes, a community newspaper, a shoe repair shop, and a billiard center, just to name a few. We're asking that this great council would help us make Como great again by agreeing to move us from District 3 to District 6. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Pastor Campbell. I think Katie Crum has now come in. Am I right, Katie? Come on down, Katie.
I'm so sorry for my tardiness.
Oh, you're all good.
So I wanted to come here tonight to speak about a situation that occurred last week with the recovery of a stolen vehicle fine with the Fort Police Department. I was going to see if maybe protocol could be changed as far as how we deal with recovered and stolen vehicles and evidence that is, I guess, overlooked or ignored. And
We're happy to have, as Chief Noakes is here, and you're welcome. Okay. You have more time to speak if you want to elaborate. Okay, you're welcome to. But.
So I'll elaborate. About 3 weeks ago, my daughter's car was stolen from the driveway of our home near TCU. We were appointed a detective, Detective Neal, to the case. He got in touch with us after he was appointed, and also after the vehicle was recovered, about 2 weeks later. When I spoke with Detective Neal after the vehicle was recovered, he informed me that while the investigation was pending, my car would not be available to me, that there would be a hold on it. After the investigation was completed, he then called me and said that the hold was lifted and that I could go out to the impound lot and pay to have my car recovered. So that's what I did. I asked to see the vehicle before the tow truck took it to the repair garage. They took me out there to see my vehicle. And when I opened it, I'm not sure if y'all have any of the pictures that I sent over.
No, do we have pictures by chance, Melissa? No, did you send them to the office?
I did.
Okay,
yes.
We'll make sure we send those to council members to see.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
When I opened the vehicle to see, after of course the hold and the investigation had been lifted, inside the first thing I noticed was a syringe and other drug paraphernalia sitting in the cup holder. I kind of looked at the guy that drove me out to the car that worked for the impound lot. I was kind of confused as to what I was supposed to do with it. And he was like, we're not allowed to touch it. You know, it's all part of an investigation. We're just, we drive you to the car and we take your fee. Basically, that's all we can do for you. So I called Detective Neal at that time and told him what I was still seeing in the vehicle. Like, this is obviously not our property, the drug paraphernalia. There's about 50 to 60 different identification cards, social security cards, credit cards, just in the back seat underneath a hoodie. There was a Ziploc gallon bag full of drugs. Oh, I'm sorry.
You have 30 seconds. You're fine. Keep going. You're good.
There was a Ziploc gallon baggie full of powder residue, obviously drug related. It had several tiny baggies left inside of it that also had powder in them as well. Inside, I found bolt cutters, headlamps, pick locks, probably 30 to 45 different vehicle keys that were just sitting literally. I could see them, like there was no digging around.
So your time is up, but you definitely need to talk to Chief Noakes.
Okay.
We have quite a situation. So Neil's going to stand up and then make sure y'all talk and fix all that's happened.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Did you? Yeah. Okay. Kenneth Bowens or Bowens. I apologize if I've got that incorrect. Is Kenneth here? You're going to pass? Okay. Bruce Miller, who I think is on the phone. Okay.
Mr. Miller,
Yes?
please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, just a second. I'm not quite there. Okay, so Bruce Miller here for Citizens for Independent Redistricting. First, I want to share my regrets about the tragic loss for Sal Espino, who did such an outstanding job chairing the task force. The council adopted by resolution a redistricting process where the task force would choose the initial map and the council would air it in a series of public meetings to get input from citizens. The task force chose map X and recommended that it be modified to include Como in the new District 6. You could not tell this from today's proceedings at the council special work session. Rather, two distinct maps were put forward without any apparent connection to map X. Each claimed to be a map X derivative via a large sequence of over 20 to 40 modifications that were described at light speed by Mr. Costa. This is not the process that citizens signed up for when they addressed the task force on January 24th and the council on February 8th. From the discussion, it seemed that map version 2 was a Carrie Moon creation, and map version V3 was a Chris Nettles creation. Neither of them respected the demographic breakdown addressed in Pablo Calderon's map X. It was painful to watch the proceedings when council member Bivens and others pointed out some of the inadequacies of the proposals. Railroading council member maps under cover of an independent task force was a slap in the face to the members of the task force and the citizens of Fort Worth. There are new maps available from Citizens for Independent Redistricting member Byrick Ellison and Mr. Calderon himself, which directly address some of the concerns with map X that were raised in the public meeting on February 8th. The council should embrace a heretofore unseen level of humility and consult with those experts on how to achieve the best map for the city for the coming decade. Thank you.
Byrick Ellison, who is also a caller.
Mr. Ellison,
Yes.
please go ahead. You had 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Mayor and City Council. I'm Byrick Ellison with Citizens for Independent Redistricting, Fort Worth. First, let me say that our thoughts today are with Sal Espino and his family. He's been a great public servant to the city, and his work was central to this effort. I've been following this redistricting process and learning from it for 3 years, and I've been waiting anxiously to see what the City Council would do when this phase of the process began this morning. I'm disappointed but not surprised. First, the open process that you yourselves set forth was for the Council to start with an initial map recommended by the Redistricting Task Force and make changes to it in full public view with rationale for each change explained. Instead, we saw 2 new maps that claimed to have scores of changes made even before the gavel came down this morning. Second, I will say openly that I had heard from multiple sources, even before the task force selected Plan X as its recommended initial map, that there were already alternate plans by council members waiting in the wings to substitute for the task force plan. I think that these plans you've been looking at today have the same relationship to Plan X the scrambled Rubik's Cube has to evenly colored sides. If you twist it enough times and in the right ways, you can get from one to the other. These are not versions of Plan X. So it shouldn't be a surprise then that as of this morning, these plans didn't accomplish the goals of Plan X, which were to create 2 Hispanic opportunity districts, a strong one in the north and a new one in the south of the city, while keeping 3 potential black-controlled districts without retrogression. Plan V2 diluted the Hispanic district in the north from 68% HBAP to just 59%, with the next ones in the mid-40s. Plan X had 53% in the 2nd district. Plan V3 started out this morning with just 52% HBAP in the north, and one with a bare majority of 50%, 50.0, that you've been trying to nudge up today when you have a reasonably good plan recommended to you by the task force. We've heard Mayor Parker say several times that X split lots of communities of interest. The X map that staff adjusted had great performance on the integrity of registered communities. Also, Como has been talking about being in District 6 since December. That's not the 9th hour. These plans appear to have a different agenda from Plan X. V2 created 3 majority white VAP districts, 2 with 59%, 1 with 62, leaving 7 minority coalition districts. V3 created a 4-6 split with white VAP districts at 59, 55, and 2 at 60.
Thank you, Mr. Ellison.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is James Smith.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is James Smith. For 2 years and 4 months, I've come to the City Council and observed you guys do your jobs. For the most part, you're doing excellent as far as growing the city. I just read in the paper the other day about a professional soccer team coming to the Fort North Side. Bravo. This past weekend, a 14-year-old child was shot and killed. I come here and have been coming here because of Tatiana Jefferson, and I will continue to advocate for her. But it appears that I need to advocate for some other people, and that's the children of the city of Fort Worth. There's no reason that anybody can give me for a 14-year-old child to be shot in the head. I'm still trying to grapple with that because I have 2 14-year-old grandchildren myself. Why? I don't know. What can be done to prevent this? I don't know. But I do know that there has to be a solution because that's not acceptable. Not to me, and it shouldn't be acceptable to you. The homicide rate in Fort Worth is trying to compete with the rest of the nation. And Fort Worth as a city needs to set an example of stopping this type of violence. I don't know who's going to shoot who. I don't know who wants to shoot who. But the resources that you fund other things with, you need to find the resources to find a solution to this serious problem, because it is a serious problem. I don't say I hear voices, but I was compelled to come here today to remind you of this 14-year-old child that lost his life. I'm here today to remind you that we don't need to read another headline of another 14-year-old child being killed. And that was in my neighborhood, not just my neighborhood, but a week or so before that in Polly. Someone shot into someone's home and killed a young person. These are the future leaders of Fort Worth. We need to save these kids. Resources to the schools, resources to somewhere to find a solution to save these kids. Most of these incidents happen in areas that are less funded and less responded to. So the Lord has put upon my other shoulder another thing to champion, safety for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Council, I believe that's the last of our speakers this evening. We're going to adjourn tonight's meeting in memory of Sal Espino Jr. It is with profound sadness to share that Sal Espino Jr., the oldest son of our redistricting task force chair and former city council member Sal Espino Jr., has passed away. Sal Jr. had moved to Indianapolis, Indiana in search of his dreams, and he loved his family dearly, cherished the brotherhood of his fraternity of Tau Kappa Epsilon, and felt a profound affection for Wabash College in Crawfordsville, Indiana. He possessed outstanding grassroots political skills, enjoyed reading, cooking, and was a scholar of ancient civilizations and world history. Funeral arrangements will be shared when available, and we will all keep the Espino family in our prayers tonight. With that, council will adjourn.